Our first speaker today is Waise Ahmad, a refugee and a human rights activist from Afghanistan and an activist with the Queensland Tajik Community Association. He will be talking about how these anti-refugees policies affect people fleeing Afghanistan and the Taliban. Please make Waise welcome.
Free, free the refugees!
Free, free the refugees!
Free, free the refugees!
Free, free the refugees!
I would like to commence by acknowledging the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people as the first Australians. I recognise their cultures, histories and diversity and their deep connection to the lands, waters, seas of Queensland and Torres Strait Island. Torres Strait. I acknowledge the Yagara people and the Turrbal people as the traditional custodians of PNG, the land on which we meet upon today. I pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. Further to this, I take the opportunity to pay my respect to elders and leaders of other communities present with us here today. All I can bring with me today from Afghanistan is the tears and shattered hopes of girls, the cries from the torture endured by all, the fears of parents and silencing of journalists, of the people's children being forced into marriages and shot or placed in the front line by the Taliban. I've come to tell you of a fearful compliance in Kabul, of the trembling heartbeats of hidden and unarmed soldiers in Kandahar and Zabul, of a Hirati teacher's somber gaze into an empty classroom once filled with girls, of the silent prayers recited in darkness for change in the beautiful mosque of Mazar-e-Sharif, and of the fear of the people for the Buddhas of Bamyan and what more will happen this time. It has been 342 days that the diaspora of Afghanistan across the globe have been living with a heart-wrenching pain, a sense of incredible loss, anguish, following the arrival of the tyranny that is the Taliban, the terrorist Taliban. From north to south, east to west, the people of Afghanistan have felt every second of the 29,548,800 seconds that has passed in the forced cage, otherwise known to the world as Afghanistan. I do not believe that any of us would be prepared to exchange places with anyone in Afghanistan, because we know too well that the existence of that nature is not an existence at all. So for that reason, let us say, free, free the refugee!
Free, free the refugees!
Free, free the refugee!
Free, free the refugees!
Free, free Afghanistan!
Free, free Afghanistan!
Stop the wars, stop the war crimes of Taliban!
Stop the war crimes of Taliban!
Almost 12 months has passed since the orchestrated collapse of Afghanistan. 12 months ago, we cried out loud and in silence, in public and in private, out of sadness, anger, bewilderment, and in fear for the well-being of the loved ones and the other innocent stranger humans, the other innocent stranger humans whose hopes, aspirations, and life goals were destroyed with a flick of a button, which orchestrated a collapse of a system and subsequently projected to the world the uncontested arrival of the Taliban and the farewell of Afghanistan to abyss. Let us say loud and clear and in one voice, Afghanistan, we still remember you.
Afghanistan, we still remember you.
12 months on, a resistance has survived with little resources, a people committed and determined to defend human rights, not to allow a mob of thugs to tarnish the name of Afghanistan and Islam against all odds. The home of Afghanistan's venerable resistance, Panjshir and Underab, once again rose to the occasion and have survived incredibly challenging and harsh conditions in the Pamir Mountains. We are at a point in time that the Taliban, in their retribution for their battle failures against the resistance, rush back to civilian areas and murder innocent men, women, children and elderly based on their locality, association, relationship and ethnicity. Free, free Afghanistan!
Free, free Afghanistan!
Stop the war crimes of Taliban!
Stop the war crimes of Taliban!
In the depth of my contemplation of what I should share with you today, I turned to a refugee, the master poet Rumi, whom at a time in history escaped the area today known as Afghanistan. And he went to Turkey to have a life. He writes in Farsi and describes today for us all. And I'll share that in Farsi and I'll translate subsequently. Afsos ke begah shud o ma tanha dar daryai kiranash napayda kashti o shab o ghammam o ma meranim dar bahr khuda ba fazl o tawfiq khuda. Alas, it is late and we are alone. In the midst of the sea, the shore, nowhere to be found. The ship, the night, the gloom, and yet we still sail. In God's sea, by God's grace and help, we shall remain. I call upon our government to allow, after 9 long years at sea, for this refugee boat to be moored and these desperate humans be given hope for a future in Australia. Further, I call upon the government to give the people of Afghanistan a fair go, to recognise the moment of need and increase the intake of refugees from Afghanistan with specific focus on granting visas for the people at most risk from the Taliban today. Free, free the refugees!
Free, free the refugees!
Free, free the refugees!
Free, free the refugees!
In the refugee camps, I believed. In the daily trials and tribulations of life, I believe. And in contribution of goodness of new refugees, I will believe. I believed, I believe, and I will continue to believe in the equality of all humankind, in the inherent goodness of humanity, in the need to stand firmly in the hours of need within one's capacity with those calling for help. We must raise our voice and not spare the ink of our pens to be the voice and the words of those being silenced across the globe. In particular, at this moment, the people of Afghanistan. I end with a passage of lyrics from Sultans of Strings. I am a refugee, a stubborn survivor. You see, cruelty tried to break me, wars tried to erase me, bigotry tried to silence me, and politics tried to ban me. But still, like time, I stand. Still like dust, I rise. And still like hope, I move. And still like love, I flourish. I am a refugee, and I heal humanity. I am a refugee, a wandering, colourful, restless, foreign alien soul. I am a refugee, a wandering, colourful, restless, foreign, alien soul. Won't you just let me find my humanity right here next to you? Free, free the refugees!
Free, free the refugees!
Free, free the refugees!
Free, free the refugees!
Free, free Afghanistan!
Free, free Afghanistan!
Stop the war crimes of Taliban!
Stop the war crimes of Taliban!
Thank you for your patience with me today.